Discover real stories of hope, healing, and redemption. Join us on a journey to overcome the odds and bring hope to the world, one story at a time. Every story has the power to inspire, restore, and uplift others. From personal struggles to triumphs, these journeys show how hope can transform lives. These aren't just stories. They're testimonies of resilience and the power of a fresh start. Welcome to the Repurposed podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Repurpose podcast. This is exciting because it has been a minimum of maybe 3 months since I've been on here. We've had a baby. He is now 2.5 months old, and we're just getting right back into it. And it's such an honor to have my guest on tonight because you and I go back to freshman year of college. So what better guest to have to kick this thing back off?
Yes.
So Lindsey White,
Hello.
we have you on today. Thank you for coming
Thank
all the
you for
way
having me.
from Texas.
Yes.
She is in town,
Mm-hmm.
came to visit baby Churchill and myself
Mm-hmm.
and my hubs.
Yes.
And so we have you here for just a short time. So I was like, hey,
Gotta
can
do
I
it.
interview you? Because she has an awesome story. You do a little tech right now,
Yeah.
but really your background is the creative side of things. You were dancing, backup dancing for various artists like
Yeah.
Ariana Grande, Jonas Brothers. You've done a little bit of TV and film. Weren't you like a voice on The Smurfs?
No, it wasn't
Or-
a voice. I was I did
Or
Trolls.
The Trolls. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm getting the two mixed.
It's okay.
Trolls. And which I think is even a better.
Yeah, it's a great
Trolls
movie.
is even better. And then you've done a little bit of podcasting as well.
Yeah.
So you're truly a creative
Yeah.
in like so many different dimensions.
Yeah. I've that's kind of been like my entire life, really, was the arts.
Mm-hmm.
My mom first put me in art class when I was like in preschool, and then dance and piano, and it was that's kind of where I've always landed. And I never really I was never like a math and science kid, and I'm a liberal arts girl like through and through. So the arts has always been my passion, like all sorts, like all genres. And
Yeah.
I felt like my life was really, what's the word I'm looking for? It really symbolized like I did art, and then I did dance, and I sang, and I pursued dance, and now I'm circling back to art. So it's always
Yeah.
kind of like it's always interchanging.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Evolving, shifting, reshaping.
Yeah.
And I love that you have the bravery to try different types.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm a perfectionist, so it's like hard being like a beginner, especially when I've dedicated so much of my life to one thing like dance.
Mm.
So going back to art was like, oh my God, I feel weird. But I picked it up because I have a natural ability because I did it for so many years.
Yeah.
And so now it's cool. And I implore anyone to find a hobby,
Yeah.
you know?
And I'm excited to get into that a little bit
Yeah.
because there's a little bit of a storyline that gets you to
Mhm.
where you are today.
Yeah.
But let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up.
Okay. I grew up in Houston, Texas, born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from a family of 4. I have a younger brother. And it was pretty much an idealistic childhood, really. I didn't have there wasn't any like childhood trauma, or there wasn't any type of conflict in my life. It was just pretty much a very stable life. Great parents, great family, very supportive. My mom kind of pushed me into the arts, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like the best of friends. I just had a really great childhood, and we had like a really good home life,
Mm-hmm.
and we would go and like do vacations and with family friends, and I always had a lot of friends. My parents like are very sociable people, so all of my friends were kind of like sporadic in different activities. We were always busy. Like I was in soccer, I was in ballet, I was in Girl Scouts. We were doing a lot. I was like, Mom, how did you do all of this? Because I have friends that are kids. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
She was like, don't ever do that to your child.
She's
'Cause,
like, learn from me.
y'all were in too much. But it kept us busy, and it kept, we were never bored.
Yeah.
And so it really helped me, I guess, be able to pick up and go places and like talk to people.
Okay.
It's funny because I grew up with a stutter.
Mm.
I still have it, but it never stopped me from talking to people.
Mm.
And so I was able to like go up to strangers, and I was a leash kid. And
Oh my God.
I don't know if I should make this known publicly. But
I think we need to dig into that.
I was a leash kid because I would like go off and like run off and like talk to strangers in the mall and stuff. And my mom's like, this girl's going to get stolen. So she had to put me on a leash.
So put her on that leash.
Because I would like go up to people, tell them about my outfit or, but I loved people.
Yeah.
Really. And so for my parents both my parents aren't from Texas. So they were able to, they picked up and went there my dad's from Georgia and my mom's from Pennsylvania. So for me, like leaving to go to school to like somewhere like Alabama or go off to LA wasn't like a big thing for me because I didn't grow up with family around.
Okay.
So it was easy for me to like just kind of go wherever I wanted because I wasn't like not necessarily hell bent of being home like with my family.
Right.
But like everyone was so spread out and we were always traveling, seeing family. So I was just like, well, I'll get on a plane if I want to see my parents or, it didn't really hold me back.
Yeah. Well, I think that's awesome because I think it's important, obviously, like what you were saying today, you see these kids that are in all these sports. And I mean, every single day of their life is mapped out with like going to practice. But I do think there is an importance of putting your children or having them be involved. It teaches discipline, commitment. And the fact that you were and this was something that like my mom's told me, and I've even said now that I have my own little boy, it's like, I want him to learn an instrument, which you did.
Yeah, I learned piano.
I want him to be in a sport. I would love that. I mean, he may say, you know what, Mom, no, I love chess. And I'm like, all right, it's something that you can be involved in, but some type of extracurricular activity.
Yeah, it's important, I think. And it was so important for my like development.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
And like me and my brother both had different interests. Obviously, he was on more of the sports side and I played sports, but it was more so like kind of because that's what my friends were doing, really. And I wasn't like too passionate about it. But then I like watched like something like the Olympics. I was like, dang, I really should have like applied myself more. You know what I mean? Like I could have gotten a full ride. Or so I always look at it, I'm like, dang, I should have like, but at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? That wasn't what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And you can like wish you could have been something or whatever, but it's, there's a reason why I was gravitated to the things I was gravitated towards.
Yeah. So, okay. So you did a little bit of sports though.
Yeah.
As a child, you did the music, you got into dance.
Yeah.
So tell me what that kind of, like, when did you realize that dance was really something that you wanted to pursue?
So it's so funny because I loved music. I remember the Christmas I asked for a boombox with all these CDs and it was all the music that
Was Spice Girls in there?
Of course. Like, but I had like a Spice Girl like cassette tapes and like, I wanted all these the songs I heard either on the radio or what my dance teacher was playing. And so I had all these CDs like and a boombox and I would just be in my room like making up dances or I was raised on MTV. And so I would watch MTV music videos in the morning before school.
Oh my God.
I know. I wasn't supposed to be doing that. But like I would do that.
How old were you?
Yeah. I was like in like elementary school, I would come home and watch like TRL and like music videos. That was like my life. And that's like, I was like, that's what I want to do. And so at first I was like, I want to be Britney Spears.
Okay. I was about to say, who was like your first?
Yeah. It was Britney Spears in terms of like, she kind of to me she was the entertainer.
Right.
And so I would watch like, I would get like DVDs or VHSs back then of like concerts of like the Backstreet Boys or Britney Spears. And I would watch behind the scenes
Oh.
And I would even do that with movies. Behind the scenes, like building something was something that I thought was so cool.
Yeah.
And so seeing the behind the scenes stuff, I was like, that is something I want to do. And my dream was to be in a music video or to be on the VMAs. That was like what I saw and was like, this is like the coolest thing ever.
And what's so cool is that, flash forward 30 years,
Something like that. Yeah.
maybe like 20 something years.
Yeah.
We're not going to age us.
No.
We're going to say 20 something. Well, but when it happened, it was probably 20 something years.
I was 28.
You actually were
28.
able to fulfill that childhood dream of yours.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
I know.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was on the stage that I dreamed of is at like Radio City Music Hall.
That is, I have chills just talking about that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, Britney Spears.
Yeah, that was like I was a pop star girly. Like
Okay.
I loved it. Like I would watch like MTV Spring Break during the summers. Like I wanted to go. Like I think the first time I went to New York, my parents took me to Times Square and I went to MTV and like they were recording TRL and I had my sign out there like hoping to get on TV. Like I was obsessed. So that was kind of like was my entry point, really.
And how old would you say you were?
I was like 8, 9.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 or 9. And then I would do I love like dance movies like Center Stage.
Yeah.
And,
oh gosh, that's
such a good
flashback.
One. I know. That and I would go to like dance conventions and then I ended up wanting I did drill team in high school. And the kind of my entryway into the professional world, I did the Debbie Allen Dance Intensive in LA. And that was for like a whole like month and a half. And I got to like the people that I ended up being friends with taught that intensive.
Oh, wow.
Like after I moved out to LA, like we became friends and the people I looked up to for like my mentors were involved in that. And I was like going to be a freshman in high school.
Wow.
And then, jump to me graduating college. And then I'm like in their orbit and we're friends and they're hiring me for jobs. And it's just crazy. It's crazy to think about and to go through. But yeah, I did that. And I knew I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with dance. Like I wasn't a prima ballerina. I wasn't trying to be in a dance company. I wanted to do Hollywood because I loved movies. And I went to Alabama. I majored in dance.
Right.
And then I was a film minor. So I knew I wanted to eventually go that route of more like behind the scenes stuff or, I thought I wanted to be a triple threat. It was funny. I started to look at my career. I was trying to find someone to model my career after. And I looked at J-Lo.
Okay.
She started off as a dancer. Then she went to acting. And then she went to sing. I wanted to do it all. And then I'm like, once you get into it, you're like, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I don't have like the actual, like what it takes to like get there. But I did start to see what I liked and what I didn't like.
Yeah.
But I, went to Alabama and did that. I really learned a lot. Like once I got into my film minor in my film classes, that like changed everything for me. I look at film so much differently now and I notice everything and I'm very detail oriented.
Do you like nitpick movies?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay. I feel like I do that too. And Scott's like, oh my gosh,
like
I can't watch a movie with you.
Yeah, I'll see like, the continuity of it all. Like sometimes like their hair is different or or like what kind of like is this a steady cam or what are they doing on this? And like just certain things I notice a lot in film.
Okay. So film, but that was what you were interested. You kind of at least tailored it to film.
Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah. Cause I could have went to New York to do dance. And it's funny because after I graduated, I went to New York with some friends. We were supposed to do dance intensive, but it got canceled, but we just decided to go anyways and just take class. I was so scared of New York. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make it. Because I was in class, and I was like, I'm terrible compared to everyone else that's taking class. And I had just graduated, and I'm like, how am I supposed to make it? And I got really anxious.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because we were sitting outside of Radio City Music Hall. It's like, I don't know if anyone watching or listening is familiar with New York, but it's like this little fountain, concrete fountain that you could sit on. It's across the street from it.
Yeah.
And we were sitting, it was like my birthday. I was turning 22. And we were waiting for like my birthday. And we were sitting in front of Radio City Music Hall. And I was like, I'm like staring at this building. I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to make any of this happen. And cut to like 8 years later, I'm on that stage.
So how did you, in those moments of being like kind of insecure, because I've noticed like sometimes I have those moments and you almost kind of back out of trying,
Yeah.
you know, or like pushing yourself, or, you know, you want to stay in your comfort zone. Did you ever kind of step back at all? Or did you just kind of, how did that look for you to continue to push forward? Because you obviously did, because you ended up in LA.
Yeah.
You know, you've done a lot of things that we're going to get into, like,
Yeah.
because 22 is pretty young. I mean, that is intimidating.
Yeah. And the thing is, I felt I was late because some kids go out there when they're 18.
Right.
And I wasn't in like there's a whole world of like the dance convention circuit, and the choreographers that teach on that circuit know a lot of the kids and they kind of grew up in that scene.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really have an in. I really had to build myself up. But to answer your question, there were times I just had a very strong vision for what I wanted. And that's how I am. I'm a very purpose-driven person.
Yeah.
And so even though I may not know how I'm going to get there, I just know if that's what I want to do, and that's like what I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to figure it out.
Right.
Even when it feels so far-fetched.
Yeah.
And I had no connections, like nothing. And when you're doing anything for the first time, you just figure it out and you just like kind of go with the motions, and you're like, I'm hustling.
Right.
And things just happen over time. And once I moved out to LA, I was able to like establish myself. Like I worked at a really popular dance studio where a lot of classes and like classes that are being taught, and people probably see it if they've seen it on like YouTube or TikTok. And I worked there for like 4 years, and I really gained a reputation, and with like choreographers, they knew me, but like I was like, I take class all the time, and people knew me as a person first before a dancer. And I was able to like network in that way. And I wasn't afraid to network. I wasn't afraid to go places by myself.
Right.
Because I didn't know many people. My brother went to USC, so he was down the road, and I had my aunt there. But pretty much I was like on my own.
Yeah.
I had no friends really. So like I would go to like the movies by myself. Like that was my first time going to the movies by myself, which now is like my favorite thing ever.
Oh, I love that. Because you don't have to worry about if someone else is enjoying it. Yeah.
And like it was the first time eating out by myself. Like I kind of learned that in college. Like no one was like ever really available to eat lunch with me. So I was like, I always thought that was so weird. I was eating by myself, but I love it. I do it all the time now, but that's the point.
And college. So you went to, you did like elementary through high school in Texas. You did college at Alabama, which is where you and I met.
Right. Yes.
And then, did a short little stint in New York, like with the dancing.
Yeah. That was only for like a week.
A week. Right. Yeah. And then LA, but like, let's take it back to Alabama, because I think that a lot of, like, that's kind of a little bit of a foundation, like another layer of the foundation that was laid for your creative, like creative side, creative vision. When you went to Alabama, so you were on the dance team.
No, I wasn't. I was a dance major.
I
tried out for the dance team. I didn't make it. I tried out twice. I didn't make it.
But this is amazing, because this is just a testament that you push forward.
Yeah. And it's funny because I didn't even, when I applied to Alabama and I auditioned for the dance program, I didn't even make the dance program.
Wow.
So my mom was like, do you still want to go? I was like, I do want to go.
Lindsey, that like, so this is even better.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, a good friend of mine from high school, she was a dance major, and she was just like, hey, we do like a student run show a semester. You should audition. And I don't know if she like pulled some strings and told this person to like put me in their dance or whatever. So I got chosen to be in this piece. And every time I would see the head of the dance department, I would see him, because I had met him in my college visit.
Okay.
And I would like, every time I would see him, I would make sure he like knew who I was. And so I auditioned, I did the show, and I will always remember I was walking, I think, in the quad going to class, and he sees me walking and he's like, Lindsey? And he was like, we're going to admit you into the dance program.
Oh, wow.
And I remember I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I remember calling my mom crying, and that was pretty much it. And even being in the dance program, I wasn't like technically the best. I was average. And so I didn't really perform. Like, I think I maybe performed 3 times the entire 4 years I was there.
Okay.
So that was hard, but like, at least I was taking class.
Right.
And so I knew what my vision was. They knew I wanted to be dancing in LA.
Right.
But I wasn't a concert dancer. Like, I wasn't trying to go to New York. So they didn't really know what to do with me.
Okay.
And so I don't know if that hindered me, but that's beside the point. But yeah, I didn't make the dance program when I first applied, like when I first auditioned.
Yeah.
And I still wanted to go because I loved the school.
Right.
And I really loved the experience that I had when I visited there, and, just the whole college experience that I wanted. I didn't want to go to a conservatory.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, that was like, I would be very unhappy. Because it would just be dance all the time. And, even me being a dance major, that wasn't necessarily my identity.
Right.
And I almost went to musical theater, but I was like, I need to do something outside of these like 4 walls.
Right.
Like, I needed to like step out of my comfort zone. So that's why I went to film. And I had like all different types of friends from different, areas that had different interests. And that's kind of how I've always been too.
Yeah. Well, like hearing you kind of explain the process of like when you first, tried out for the dance team, even when you're in New York and LA and, while you're in college, I think what stands out is that you had a goal. Your primary way of achieving that goal was through the community you built around you. So even though you were talented, like you said, you maybe weren't the best one there.
Yeah, no.
But you prioritized the community, which really in the end led to you being able to kind of fulfill the dreams that you wanted. Get on the dance, what was it? What did you call it?
It was the dance program.
The dance program.
Yeah, to be a major.
And you can say like, maybe she pulled some strings, but you know what? People can pull strings a lot, but if you don't have the personality, if you don't connect, if you don't do the work, it's not going to work out for you.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I'm a type of person that I will always find a way. Like, I know I wasn't the best dancer. But I work really hard.
Right.
I was willing to work hard. Even when I moved out to LA, like, I had to train a lot. And, to get on the level that I needed to be like, be able to work a job, even though when I got there and I was struggling, I was like, why am I not booking anything? And I look back, I was like, girl, you were not ready.
Yeah.
And, but I know I work really hard, and I didn't know exactly how it was going to happen, but I knew if I kept working hard, something would find its way.
Yeah.
And it did. And then, I graduated. And I mean, obviously we met the first day of freshman year through a friend of mine,
right,
from high school. It was actually, my parents had just dropped me off. Like, my parents just left. Like, they moved me in, they left, and I was like already crying.
Yeah, I was like, I think I remember it being kind of, you were in the back seat, or you were in the front seat, something, and then I got in.
Yeah.
And I remember, I feel like I kind of remembered it being like an emotional.
Yeah, because I remember I was walking, I had like a soccer jersey on. I was so not a sorority girl. It was bid day. And I saw all these girls. I was walking through
Yeah.
sorority row, all these girls screaming and hollering, like crying and like excited. And everyone has like their like new friends. And I'm like, I have no one.
Yeah.
And I remember I like walked past the Applique house. I saw our friend and I was just like, she's like, oh my God. I was like, I just started crying. And
Yeah.
I was like, and then she's like, oh my God, come in. And I'm just like, I have no one here. And so she like took me in and then like, I remember you getting in the car. I don't know where we were going.
Maybe food or something.
Probably. But yeah, that was that.
But man, like you went to college really not knowing a lot of people. I mean, you
No.
knew she
I-
went there,
Yeah,
but
I only knew 2 people.
yeah. And I think I kind of was similar, but I'm not a sorority girl, but I did do Rush because I heard, it's a great way to meet friends. And I wasn't planning on actually, like, I guess, going all the way with it. And I did. But that was helpful to have that, there's a couple girls that I still am good friends with from that. But so the fact that you came in and you still pursued Alabama, even though maybe your entry into it wasn't looking exactly like you had planned or hoped. And then you and I met, and that was such a blessing. And I feel like my memory of you from then and like to this very day is consistency. Like you have always been a consistent, loyal friend.
You.
And you're like that with everything you do.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so grateful that we met our freshman year, because
it's so funny.
That first day was so tough.
It was just like a really weird, the thing is I'm very, when I'm sure about something, I'm like sure, like, especially when I feel called to something, I have a very distinct feeling of like feeling like Alabama is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about Los Angeles too. And then when I'm going all over the place. Sorry. And when I moved home, I was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't feel called anywhere until last year when I was like, I want to move to New York.
Yeah.
It felt right. And it's so funny because I was always so afraid of it.
And that's how most likely that's
it.
A calling, like God's calling you to a different location.
So it's like everywhere that I feel like I've been called to or supposed to do has always been hard.
Yeah.
And it was like, even moving out to LA was hard. I cried a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, I have no idea how I'm going, because I surrounded myself with so many people that were successful.
Yeah.
And like, that's just how I am. Like, I don't like being like the smartest person in the room. Like, I wanted to be with people that I really looked up to.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my friends in LA had been working for years, that have worked with some of the biggest artists ever. And I wanted to be that. So I wanted to surround myself with that,
Right.
And so when I was there, it took me a while to make friends. So it's funny because when I was in college, I got saved in college.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I had always like wanted to be a part of like a church. Like I grew up going to church, but it like we kind of fell off like in the middle of elementary school. So it was like very inconsistent. And like a majority of my friends were Catholic. So I was going to like mass with them on the weekends if I spent the night at their house.
Yeah.
And like I almost converted to a Catholicism through my grandmother. And but so I got to college and all the girls on my floor were like, we should, they were going, and so we would all go together.
Okay.
And I remember the day I got saved, it was during like the last part. Like they had like, we had worship, then he had a little sermon, and then like we had worship after. And I remember that was the day that I remember I got saved. And so I was like very like all about going every week.
Yeah.
I didn't really go out because how they were saying like don't go out, don't drink,
yeah,
like all that stuff. I mean, I still went out, but I wasn't like crazy. But I just had a very different experience in college. Like I wasn't partying. I'm not a big partier, never was, but I had fun.
Yeah.
And so I was really like, my faith really grew in college, which is such a very unlikely place when you think about like what college is supposed to be, So I really found a really good group of friends who were believers as well.
Mhm.
And then when I moved out to LA, everyone was like, well, you don't know, like everyone in LA is weird, or,
Yeah.
the church is out, be careful. I had never had a bad experience when I moved out there with people.
Yeah.
I think it's like all about who you are
Yeah.
and like who you attract. I didn't attract any of those bad
Right.
people, and I have really good discernment too. So I can like
Yeah.
be able to, I would never put myself in a situation that I wasn't supposed to be in. But when I moved out to LA, my first priority was to find a church.
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
I bopped around a little bit, but then I ended up landing on one. And that was like my foundation in terms of my friends, circling back to like not really having people.
Yeah.
So I had friends from the church.
Mhm.
And then I became, it was a very creative church. A lot of people in the business went there. So I felt like very supported.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of young people, transient people that come from all over. So it was kind of like we were kind of all in the struggle together.
Yeah.
And once I got in more with the industry and with other dancers, that's like when, my circle started to expand and all that.
Mhm. Well, so do you feel like college versus like Tuscaloosa,
Mhm.
being that it's a southern town,
Yeah.
versus LA, do you feel like it was like making friends, even though you joined a church and that was kind of like, do you feel like you had a similar like time making friends in each location, or do you feel like one was harder than the other? Like was Alabama what you were expecting by the end of it? 4 years has gone by. Do you feel like it was just as easy to make friends in Bama as it was in LA and vice versa, or?
It was a little bit different. I think
Yeah.
it was harder in LA because since it is such a transient city, there were some people I would meet and hang out with for a while and then they would leave,
Okay.
or they would move further away, like, because the city's so large and like if you only live in a very specific area, no one really likes to go outside of their
Yeah.
little bubble. Alabama was a little bit different because we were kind of just like all in the same space together.
Right.
And I was able to create relationships with the people. I mean, granted, Texas, I was very naive
Yeah.
thinking Texas and Alabama were similar. They are wildly different.
Really?
And I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb.
Like in what ways?
Like, I always thought Texas was a southern
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, I would think that too.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
It's not. And people from Texas may disagree with me, but living in Alabama and being around people from Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, like Tennessee, we're not the same
Yeah.
at all. And we're like our own little culture. We have like bits and pieces that I would say is Southern, but it's like the culture, even like how people dress is different. And so even like demographically is different.
Yeah.
So that was a big, I was like, whoa, this is very
Was that
interesting.
hard?
It was
that
hard.
a hard adjustment?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I remember you talking to me
The
about that.
first year was hard. I actually wanted to leave.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about going to like UT, Texas. And then I toured the campus. I was like, oh, this nothing will beat Alabama. And I'm a person that that's maybe not the best as I've gotten older, but I'm like a type of person that I like to finish what I start. I was like what I was always instilled with. Like even when I wanted to quit Girl Scouts, my mom's like, you're not going to quit. You're going to finish. And so I was a Girl Scout all the way
We're getting
through.
those cookies.
I was a Girl Scout all the way to my senior year in high school when all my friends were like not doing it anymore. Yeah, she would not let me quit.
That's good though. Your mom, that's a great character.
Yeah. But like I tend to stay in things longer than I should too.
Okay.
But that's another story.
Well, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Then you can see where, we've got to, I feel like as we get older, we have a foundation that's laid or influenced as a child into who we are. And a lot of times, and sometimes those are good. And then sometimes it's good, but it still needs to be reined in.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's where you're saying, okay, it's a good quality that I have, but sometimes if not checked.
There needs to be a boundary.
Right.
Yes. Like we don't need to be in things that no longer serve us anymore.
Yeah.
But friends wise, my community in LA was, I mean, it was different seasons. Like everyone that I was friends with when I first moved there were no longer, I wouldn't say we're no longer friends, but we grew apart. Some people moved away. People got busy, you know, I ended up changing churches too. And so I was meeting different people. And so LA to me is like different seasons.
Yeah.
Within one time frame, because I was there for a long time.
Right. You were there for what, 7
years?
7 years.
Yeah. And I lived in 3 different places.
Okay. So you wrapped up college, you were in dance.
Yeah.
You graduated, you did your week kind of dance study in New York.
Yeah.
And then did you go back to Texas?
Yes.
Or so you were there for a short interim?
Yeah, I was there through the summer till November. I moved the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay. So when you left Alabama, do you feel like you achieved what it was that you wanted to achieve there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
So that's awesome. So you had that checked off.
Yeah, I graduated on time. Like that was like my big, because I was out of state. My parents were already paying for my brother at USC, which was a private school.
Wow.
And I was like, I got to get out of here on time. And so I did summer school, and like that was like my biggest achievement, because school for me, I know I'm smart. I feel like I'm more book smart than I am not book smart. I feel like I'm more street smart than I am book smart. So school is always difficult. Like I always had tutors and stuff. So for me, like I had to do math during the summer. I had to do science during the summer so I could, pass. And I graduated with a 3.0, like that's average, great, but like it was a big thing for me to graduate on time, because I didn't want to like waste time, especially my parents' money. Yeah, being there for longer than I should have.
That's us daughters are just. I feel like
it's our eldest daughter, firstborn daughters. We
just have a little more. We're like, okay, we need to really, respect our parents.
Yeah, and like I didn't want to. Not saying, I just want to preface, there's nothing wrong with taking your time if you need it, but that was for me. I wanted to get out in 4 years. Yeah, and really start my career. I didn't even know what that career could be, you know? I mean, it's so funny. I had a poster of like Pussycat Dolls in my dorm room, and that's like what I wanted. I was like, that's what I want to do. Yeah. And it's so funny because.
Do you sing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like what I
wanted. So you could have been the dancer and the singer, like Pussycat Dolls.
That's literally what I wanted to do. And it's funny because I ended up knowing the creator after I moved there, but that's what I wanted to do, and I was like, I got to get this going. Yeah, and that's when college was when I started making like vision boards for my room, and I had Hollywood on there. I had like all the things that I wanted to do, and I actually thought I was going to get my master's and go to film school at USC, but I was like, no, I'm going to just dance, and that had it all. It all weaves in together, but I was very determined. Like I knew exactly. That's why I didn't want to go to New York, because the Hollywood aspect was more attracted to me because of the film stuff. I wasn't like I love theater. I love like musical theater, but like I knew like that is where I wanted to be.
Right. So, so then you're at home for a little bit. Yes. In November, you moved out to California. Yes. You already had your place picked out.
Yeah. I moved in with a family a family friend who, it's funny, our cousins used to be married. And she was actually married, but she was working in San Francisco, and she would fly back and forth to Houston in California on the weekends. But she was working for Nike. And she was moving to LA, and my mom was like, would you mind a roommate? And so I lived with her for 3 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then, you joined a church. Yeah. You joined a dance studio. Yeah. Where you worked.
Yeah. It was kind of like a work for, it's like a work study. So I didn't even get paid. So I would work one shift a week, would work the front desk, and had unlimited amount of classes because I had to figure out how to pay for class. Yeah. And so that's what I did. And
that's impressive because I I think that shows that you had some kind of like insight, foresight, whatever it is, like some wisdom on being like, okay, this is what I want. You didn't have a free ride. You
No,
didn't expect your parents to pay and
even
cover
though
it
they
all.
did.
They did, and
At a certain
that's
point, I
wonderful.
know.
But you didn't just sit there.
Yeah.
You put yourself in an environment that suited what your goal was,
Yeah.
and
I
you
needed,
worked.
I needed to, like, I was working, I think towards the end, I was working at 3 jobs
Yeah,
just to, because you just have to do what you needed to do
yeah,
to pay rent. But the studio really helped in the sense
yeah.
of like people got to know my face.
Hmm.
I still have a lot, like some of the top choreographers are still in my phone because I would text them like if they were going to teach class that night and
Yeah,
confirm. And I got to be around because that's like where a lot of celebrities will come and rent space for rehearsals.
yeah,
So I was like around some of like the top artists all the time.
yeah.
And I saw a lot of things, like I remember I'm never going to forget the time I saw JC from NSYNC.
Oh my gosh.
He came in, he was like renting space because he was doing.
Are you an NSYNC girl or a Backstreet
I'm a
Boys?
Backstreet girl.
I am too. Okay.
Yes.
But we do love NSYNC.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, those were that's who I was obsessed with. But no, JC came in and I saw this guy walking towards the desk because we had like a long hallway from the back parking lot.
Mhm.
And I was like, who's that? And then he came to the desk. I'm like, oh my God, it's JC. And I was like, this is so crazy. Like, this is like little Lindsey is freaking out.
Yeah.
Like, she would have never have guessed this. And he was renting space. He was managing a girl group at the time. But it was just like people like that, just random. And I like random would like run into like someone like Aaron Carter, RIP. But like,
Yeah.
he would come in and he would like know my name. And like just the people that I would have on my wall knew my name.
That is so cool. And in some way, even if you never were to dance as a backup dancer,
Yeah.
that in itself is an accomplishment. And I think sometimes it's like looking at some of our dreams and being like, even if they don't play out exactly how we want them,
Yeah.
noticing the little like moments and blips in there that are like, you know what, even though it didn't pan out like perfectly to what I planned, like the fact that you had a name,
Yeah.
people knew who you were
Mhm.
in the industry that you were, in love with and wanted to be involved in. Like that in itself, if it just ended there,
Yeah.
that, people knew you had a respect for you, that's a win.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I look at it as like little wins.
Yeah.
Because as I progressed in my career, I started working a lot. Like, I was working for a choreographer. She had a dance company, and it's sometimes God places you places, even though it may not be how you wanted it. Like I wanted to dance for her. Like I wanted to be in her company, and like I
Right.
wanted to like have this vision of myself. And then like I didn't make this certain thing that she was doing, but I was like, I'll do whatever. I just want to be around you.
Right.
And so I was her assistant.
Wow.
So I ended up working for her for like 4 years. And this is all unpaid, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
That's how hungry I was. I did not care. Like I would work for her for free
Wow.
because I was just so inspired by her and just everything that she did. I ran her social media. I ran everything.
Well, and I mean that even in itself was not wasted. And I know
No,
how
it's
that
not
feels. I know
yeah.
how that is to work for free. I did that when I interned for anthropology in New York, and that's a hustle and it's hard,
Yeah.
especially when you don't, just have tons of money in the bank,
Yeah. And
or
like I wanted to dance too. Like that wasn't, but she opened my eyes and more so of like more of the behind the scenes stuff.
yeah.
I was so tunnel vision of just wanting to be a dancer.
You were seeing like the surface level of it, not like she was really able to show you the nitty gritty. Like
yeah.
what goes
Or
into
just
it.
like more open my eyes of like more of what I could do.
Yeah.
Instead of just being talent, because being talent, you have no say in anything.
Right.
And so that opened my eyes. So getting to work for her, someone that I had looked up to, like this person was one of Beyonce's backup dancers, and now she's one of her choreographers. But I saw her dance for her on tour when I was like still in college.
Wow.
And I was like, now I'm working for her. It was just, it's one of those things where you just never know how life is going to pan out. But it taught me, like, God was like, you're not going to dance with her, but you're going to work for her because you're going to learn things.
Right.
That's going to open your eyes to other things that you don't know that you're passionate about yet.
In that moment, did you realize that?
I didn't, because I really wanted to do that. But towards the end of me working for her, I definitely like sparked, like, I really love behind the scenes. And going back to when I was younger, watching behind the scenes and like DVDs of movies and content, that's always been my passion. Really. So
I remember, not to cut you off, but I remember we had I had Carrie on here, and she's an artist now. But it's funny how sometimes I think life gets in the way and kind of desensitizes us, jades us, whatever it is, to maybe. I think as a child, we know more about who we are and what we want than we do as an adult. Because by the time we're an adult, like, we're, if we're not careful, we allow the world to kind of define us, tell us what we need to do, how we need money, which obviously we need to financially support ourselves. But I think that we start to lose what those little strengths and interests are that God has placed in an innocent little heart and body. And like, if you think like what you just said is like that was kind of already in you at a young age, but you went through life, you went through, and obviously being the dancer, that's the focal point, the
glitz
big,
and the glam.
the glitz and the glam. But really you had an interest of the behind the scenes, even from a child. So you were like fulfilling something that you didn't even really realize.
Yeah. And it's funny because I look back at that now, because all I wanted to do was to be famous, whatever that meant, know, because when you're a kid and you see, your favorite celebrity on TV or doing whatever, you think it's the coolest thing ever.
Right.
And you don't know what that entails. And that came from I had very low self-esteem as a kid. And so I thought if the world loved me, then maybe other people would love me. That would be the most attractive thing, is the world loves me, then maybe someone else would love me back. And so, but God really started to strip that desire one by one, little by little,
layer by layer.
Because it wasn't like, I didn't want to be like the hot girl on stage dancing next to like Usher or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like when I became part of the industry and started seeing, like, going to auditions, right? And being around people making these decisions, and the people I had on my list I want to work with, I was like, don't want to work with that person anymore.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know until you know. And then my list started getting smaller and smaller. And then I started being around people that I really wanted to work with because they are good people.
Right.
And we were friends. And so I had like my 3 people that I like consistently was trying to work with and like take class from.
Yeah.
And 2 of those people were twins, and they were Ariana Grande's choreographers. They became like 2 of my best friends.
Wow.
And so we had a relationship in terms of like a friendship. We would hang out. I would go to their house. Like, we would do things, and they would invite me to birthday parties. And so that's a lot of my relationships were like that before they became working relationships, even though these are the people I want to work with so badly, but we were friends first.
And see, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's so neat that you were able to develop like a trust in a community.
Yeah.
That eventually, paid off in work and experience. But you were willing to, because I think sometimes, and especially, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but in that industry, sometimes I feel like people are probably just in it for themselves. Like, what can I do?
What can I get from you?
Yeah,
for sure. And that's what happened to me. There was a lot of people that I really like would love to have been friends with, or admired. It didn't really give me the time of day until I started to work.
Yeah. And now, did that affect that insecurity in you that you had of like gaining love and, respect. Like,
Mhm.
did that hurt?
Oh yeah. I didn't feel valuable unless I was working,
Yeah.
and especially when you have friends that book everything
Yeah.
and you're just like struggling.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's so many times I called home and like, I was like, I don't know if I could keep doing this because
Yeah.
it's people say you need a tough skin. Yes, you do. But spiritually, it can wear you down to the point where you're like, it starts questioning your worth.
Yeah.
And when I say like talent has really no say, I could be in a room full of girls. They can line you up by tallest to shortest,
Yeah.
and they can typecast you. Yes, no, please stay,
Yeah.
whatever. Or they can separate you by race, by hair color.
Wow.
And I get it, especially if it's a musical artist. They have their look that they're looking for. If it's a female artist, depends on who it is. They don't want a girl that's prettier than them.
Right.
Which can be difficult when luckily with Ariana, they casted all girls, and that was a very different thing for her because at the time she was only having like two girls on stage with her. So it can really like wear someone down if they weren't strong. And like I don't know if I was strong. I was just on to the next. Like I just kept it going, and it was hard because you couldn't really sulk in it for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard meaning like you just kept pushing it down and down, and you didn't really know how it was affecting you.
Yeah. So then you just stayed. So when you were faced kind of with those, you just kind of stayed busy.
You stay busy. You just kept going to class. Like you show up, even like the person that rejected you in the audition, you still showed up to their class the next day.
Wow.
Because you can't let it affect you because you are on to the next, and you don't know what they're booking next. Like it may not be, even if I didn't book a certain job, you don't know what they're working on later.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of have to keep being in the room. I was told so many times, like, you're great, but you're just not you're not fit for this. Like I was like said, I look too young for a certain job.
So how did you, stay on your, that just goes back to obviously you have a track record of still pushing forward, but like what were some ways that you dealt? I know that you said you just kind of like stuff it down and stuff, but like on a day to day when you were told no, or like you're not this or that, did you have a hard time staying grounded in who you were? Or like, what was your method for dealing with rejection like that? Because
it was hard because you take it personally, even though it's not personal.
Yeah.
Rejection comes in all forms.
Yeah.
Everyone gets rejected. But for me, I guess it made me not scared in terms of like trying. It never hindered me from trying.
Yeah.
Like there's people that wouldn't even make it a couple months doing it because it's just too hard. And it's a really hard life to get told no all the time. And the thing is, we're only going after a job that lasts for maybe a day or two, depending on what it is. If it's a tour, it's maybe a year, 6 months to a year. But like sometimes it's just like, because you don't know what that job that you're booking is going to lead to next.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to keep thinking ahead.
Yeah.
And I always knew like Ariana and Justin Timberlake were the two artists I really wanted to work with.
Yeah.
And they were written on a piece of paper, circled and taped on my closet for 6 years.
Wow.
6 years I saw no movement.
Wow.
And to the point, I guess I can talk about the Ariana story because it's like, that's like the biggest testimony I have really is I was at my church conference, and Jensen Franklin was speaking that Saturday night, and he has a sermon. Everyone should look it up. It's called Acres of Diamonds.
Acres of Diamonds. Jensen
I think
Franklin.
It's a book. I think he wrote a book about this, but it's a sermon.
Okay.
And it's about, I forgot what it is about in terms in the Bible, but like on a land full of diamond, like you don't know what's underneath the surface.
Yeah.
And so in being content where you are. And I remember sitting in the auditorium, I kind of felt I was like feeling very lost. I was like, I started feeling like I was about to tap out.
Yeah.
And give up on all of this.
Yeah.
And I remember that moment, I really felt it. I really felt the Holy Spirit was like, something was happening there. I remember leaving the auditorium, going into the lobby of the Wiltern, and it's a really big theater.
Okay.
And at the time I was serving during the conference, I was serving in the green room. So my pastor's parents were in the green room. And so they had seen me earlier that day. And so they saw me in the lobby, and I was kind of by myself, and like I had been crying from this service. And they looked at me, they're like, "Can we pray for you?" In the sea of thousands of people. And they just prayed for me, and I'm just sobbing.
Yeah.
And I remember calling my friend afterwards, and I was like, I don't know what's about to happen, but something's about to happen. And that was a Sunday. No, Saturday, Sunday happened. And then Monday, it was I worked at a fitness studio. I opened it up really early in the morning. So I finished around like 10:30. And I was getting breakfast at Chick-fil-A. And I get a phone call, a FaceTime actually, from my friend Brian, who is Ariana Grande's choreographer. He has a twin brother named Scott. And I thought this was so weird because he never calls me. Like, he will just text me. But he was FaceTiming me. I was like, this is weird. And then in my mind, I didn't think anything of it. And he was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just got off work. I'm getting breakfast. Like, what's going on?" He was like, and him and Scott are on the phone together. And he's like, "Do you want to do the VMAs?"
Oh my gosh.
And I just start sobbing.
And this was just a couple days after
church,
the prayer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh my God, yes, yes, yes." And like the guy who's taking my order, I'm like, he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Hold on, please." I'm holding up the line, and I'm like, "Well, like, when is it? When is it?" He's like, "It's now." I was like, "Okay, I'm coming." And then I remember driving on the 101, sobbing.
Yeah.
I'm calling my mom, and she's like, "Why are you crying?" She doesn't like when I cry and drive. And I was like, "I just booked the VMAs," and she's like, "Oh God!" And it was like, it was so crazy. I go in, my roommate is taking out the trash. I tell her, she drops the trash and starts yelling. And like, I'm like I have no clean clothes, and I have to wear all black. So I'm like Febrezing my like dance clothes. I'm packing my bag of all the things I think I would need.
Right.
I'm driving to Center Staging, which is a rehearsal space where like they rehearse like for tours and like live shows.
Yeah.
And I get in there, and I see like it's a room full of girls that I know. And one of my really good friends who is like an OG, like she's like in her 40s, was in her 40s. I think she's like almost 50 now. Danced with Janet Jackson, Britney Spears, like, and she's in there too. And we've had so many conversations about like my journey and like it being really hard right now. And she just looks at me and we both start crying.
Oh man.
And this was her first VMAs. She's been in this business like 20 something years, but she was always working.
Right.
And so we were doing it together. And
How sweet.
It was so awesome. And I was just like, I cannot believe this is my life. And I go back home because they're like, we had rehearsal. I was like one of the second to last people to get hired in LA before we left.
Yeah. For
New York. And I had a day to myself to like pack and like, do all of those things. And I remember I write down my prayers and intentions every month.
Yeah.
And it was on my mirror. And I looked at my mirror, and VMAs was on there.
Stop.
For the month of August. And I forgot I put it on there because at the time everyone was booked and like there was no really auditions. It was all direct booking. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of gave up on that and I forgot about it until I looked at it and I was just like, oh my gosh. And I fly to New York the following day, and I was in New York, and it was funny because when we were still in LA, Ariana came in, and I had worked with her like throughout her camp a couple times. Like I never got hired. I did some stuff for like Saturday Night Live, but I didn't perform Saturday Night Live. But to be in New York And to be in a place where I was before I moved to LA, thinking like, I have no idea how I'm going to make this happen. Looking at the building that I was going to be performing in.
Wow.
It blew my mind because I had watched this specific award show every year since I was little.
Yeah.
And like some of the most iconic performances were on that stage, and I was going to be on there. And with an artist that I had desperately wanted to work with. And the whole experience was like a dream.
Yeah.
And whether or not it, like the song and the subject matter of itself can debate about if that was appropriate or not. But like, I knew that's where I was supposed to be. Like I really felt the presence of God the entire time I was there. And I felt so I feel like I was achieving what I've always wanted.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like the best moment, I think, of my life at that time, because I felt like I was finally getting somewhere. And I was doing on a stage like full of people that I respected too. And like I'm backstage, J-Lo had just performed. She's like saying good luck to us. Madonna's in the stairwell while we're just like lining up. It was a wild experience because these are people you see on TV.
Right.
And like being in the industry, you would say like that kind of stuff kind of doesn't faze you anymore. But it's still like a pinch moment. Like this is major.
Well, and you mentioned like, the topic of kind of the performance or, is up for debate and stuff. Being that you are a Christian and you're in an industry that can really teeter and a lot of times be maybe anti-Christian life or like, where it's not really promoting that type of lifestyle. Did you have a hard time bridging that? Like, how did you deal with that?
Sometimes, but like I looked at it. I mean, I look at it so differently now. But I looked at it as like I was just pretending, not necessarily pretending, I was playing a role. And some people have different discernment, right? There's things that people think that are a no-no, and then that may not be what I feel like is like I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
But I just looked at it as art, and I know art is subjective and all that stuff. And I felt at the time I didn't think of it as like, oh, it's this bad. And I still don't think it was bad. I thought it was a beautiful piece of work. Sometimes we don't get to choose what we do. And I didn't really know. I thought it was just a really cool like artistic expression. Or
you're seeing it from the artistic side.
Yeah. But now I look at it different, like, okay, maybe that wasn't like the best way to do things. Because we depicted the Last Supper. It was all women. And it was like a big painting. Like we wanted to look like we were part of a
mural,
painting. Yeah. And I felt like it was done very well. But I know looking back now, like I am more mature in my faith, and I would be like, maybe I wouldn't have done that per se. But I don't regret doing that at all.
Well, that's interesting, even looking back and saying, you know what, I probably would have done things differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's spiritual intelligence of saying, because I mean, we're never, in our spiritual walk, we should always be striving to grow closer and closer to God, to gain more and more wisdom and discernment. But we'd be fools to say that we had it from the get-go. Or like where we were 10 years ago, is the same place we're at today. And hopefully where we're at today is in a much stronger relationship with God than we were 10 years ago. But, well, and I do want to touch on, like, I think I want to go back to the prayer because I do believe that God really speaks to you. I think, and that's been something that you and I've had, like, I can't even count how many conversations. Like, I think dreams is your kind of language that he speaks to you in. And then, like these inklings that I feel like he gives you, like these little previews of maybe your next step where you need to go. But I think it's important to kind of touch on the power of prayer to like move moments
Yeah.
and to move life. Because I think that, I think a lot of us can go through little wilderness periods, or like that book that we both got. I
Yeah.
haven't started it yet, but I think you started it yesterday or
Yeah.
something, about like the silent years.
Yeah.
Where you feel like, because you said it was 6 years, I think, that
Yeah,
you had
6
not
years.
gotten it, the
Anything.
work that you really
Yeah.
were wanting and
Right.
praying and hoping for. And I think something I've noticed in life is like, if you're a believer, you talk about like prayer being like the power of prayer. I think
Right.
sometimes we get so used to saying like all the little Christian-y like sayings like, oh, prayer, power of
Yeah.
prayer, or I'll pray for you. But like that is something that is so significant that we can use and we can do anywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere, for anyone. And the fact that those people looked at you, and I think God probably spoke to them and said, pray over this person.
Yeah.
And I think prayer a lot of times will shake and shift maybe areas in our life that are like stuck and stagnant.
Yeah.
And, from that point forward, you had some movement in your career.
Yeah. And it was, I felt like I was like really hitting a stride. I had just moved to a different agency.
Okay.
And things just really started popping off for me really over there. And that's like, I did Ariana, I did Trolls, which was so funny because I had gone home to go to the Justin Timberlake concert. They happened to be on my birthday, and I'm really good friends with a lot of the people that work for him. And my mentor is his choreographer, and my other friend is the assistant choreographer. So she was there. And so I saw my friends beforehand, and they like gave me like the VIP like wristband.
Yeah.
And so my
Pays
friend
to know people.
it does. And so I would stay next to my friend who is like watching the show because she's there to give notes.
Yeah.
And my mom's there too. And Justin Timberlake pointed me out in the middle of the show. And like and that was so funny. And then like I got home and then I get a text from her saying,
wow,
do you want to do Trolls? And I was like, yeah. Like
that is so cool.
I mean, like I wanted to tour with Justin Timberlake. But that was just enough. Like God gave me just enough.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, I felt like when I left, I felt like I didn't achieve everything I wanted to. I wanted to go on tour so badly, but he was able to like, I was kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah.
In all aspects. Like I wasn't really in with all these different groups of people. I was friends with them, but I wasn't like immersed into like these groups.
Yeah.
And I didn't go on tour and I didn't do the things that I thought I would do more before I left. Like I felt God was, I think after that year, after I did the VMAs, I came home. When I came back, I went straight into an audition for Usher actually.
Wow.
And I was like in a room full of like 200 girls. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow.
Like it felt like I was at the height. I was at the top. I felt so good. I was like, finally.
Yeah.
And then you come back down and you're like, I'm at the bottom again.
Yeah.
And I knew that was the case. But when you finally feel that, and then I was like, oh no, I don't think I can keep doing this. Just because it took me so long to get to where I wanted to go. And then I have to start all over again.
Right.
And so I knew I was like, I needed to take a break. I took my first trip alone to London.
Right.
And then I was trying to figure out what I wanted. And then I did a couple other things. I worked with the Jonas Brothers and Ellen. And, but I felt God called me out of LA.
Yeah.
And it was like little by little. It was like when I stopped like going to auditions or like, they're like, hey, like so-and-so would love for you to audition for this. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, and I went home.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest thing for me because I felt like I was so mad, but like I knew I needed to because I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there anymore. I mean, 6 months later, COVID happened and I would have to go home anyways.
Right.
Because the entire industry shut down. And now it's still to this day has completely changed.
Yeah.
It's not the same anymore. So it was a blessing.
Right.
He gave me just enough. And now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do like my next phase of my life.
Right. Well, and, being that your time in LA and probably, how, to me, like, you were able to do a lot in the industry that you loved, but it didn't necessarily probably look exactly what you wanted.
No.
Do you feel like it was still a success? Like, how do you deal with, you know, having dreams and maybe certain things are fulfilled to a degree, but not exactly the way because you're a perfectionist? How did you deal with that? Like, did you feel like you came up short? Did you feel like you fulfilled it? Like, how did you handle those?
I definitely feel like I came up short. Well, I mean, I'm in therapy now, so we're working through those things. But like, for the longest time, I felt like a failure. Like I
Yeah.
thought coming home would be the biggest failure. Like I told myself I would never come back home. I would do something. I would move in, obviously, to the behind the scenes stuff. Like I even was starting to do like PA work on like commercials. I had a friend of mine who's a director who would hire me for stuff.
Yeah.
Just to see like what I would like. I was like, I don't want to do this either. Like is a lot. It's a whole other hustle. It's a whole other
Right.
thing. I was like, I have to like figure something else out. So I did feel like I came up short in the sense of I didn't achieve everything. And I was writing down in my journal because I was recently because I'm trying to figure out how to get to New York or,
Right.
like
You're setting a new goal.
setting a
Yeah.
new goal and like what I want and like the things that God has provided and answered. And I started from like end of high school through college, all the way throughout LA. And it was just pages of stuff that
Yeah.
he's came through on.
Yeah.
And, things I prayed for that I got, like I gained so much perspective from
Mm.
looking back and seeing like, actually this is a very successful
Career.
and
Yeah.
maybe not have been what like say like a friend of yours is like my friend, like one of my best friends, Tori, just got finished touring with Taylor Swift for past 2 years
Uh-huh.
and one of the biggest concerts of all time and tours of all time. And her life, like she's doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And just to see friends achieve things that you wanted,
Yeah.
it was hard, but it's not as hard as like people may think because it's like, it's the life I don't want. Like I actually don't miss it.
Right.
Like I don't go to shows or watch award shows. Like, oh, I wish I was still doing that.
Yeah.
Because I know what it took to get there and the things you go through. Like dancers are not treated well.
Right.
Like in terms of pay, we are at the bottom of the barrel. Like you have the band, you have the backup singers, they get paid way more than we do.
Wow.
And we're using, I mean, not saying that they're not using their bodies and stuff, but we can be injured.
Right.
Like I can get hurt on stage and then I'm out of a job.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And so I look at it now as a success. It didn't end the way I thought it would end.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't do the things that I thought I would end up doing or had visions of myself doing.
Yeah.
But I know that I was supposed to leave when I did.
Right. So you had a peace about that.
It took a while.
Uh-huh.
I think.
But you were obedient.
I was obedient. I didn't want to be.
But you sensed the Lord calling you to a different
and I was so
season.
mad. I'm like, why did I not want to do this anymore?
Right. And that to me, that's another testament that it is something other than yourself because you've given your whole life, adult life especially, to this craft. And then for you to feel whether you were like ready to maybe or not, or you were at peace with it or not, but you felt that call to remove yourself and you were obedient to it, whether it was when you were expecting to or not.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that testifies of it being like something other than yourself.
Yeah. And it brought me home. I ended up becoming a caregiver for my grandmother. We moved her in during COVID. We took care of her until she passed away. And I didn't understand why I was still at home.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'm in my 30s. Like I should be thriving, doing all this stuff. And I am stuck home on the weekends taking care of my grandmother.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it. I still don't understand why that was for me to do.
Right.
But it also, to me, I think it serves like, it had always been all about me for this long period of time of what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And then I was forced to like serve someone else,
Wow.
someone who I never really got to see, really only like maybe once or twice a year, and really learn sacrifice. I
Yeah.
didn't get to, go out when I want to, or because my parents would be, working or having to leave town, and I had to stay with my grandma, and I feel like I lost so much of my life, but I didn't,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have been able to get that back if I had stayed,
Right.
and it's still a blessing, and it helped me learn who I was apart from dance. Like God really stripped me from everything I knew, like the city that I loved. I loved LA.
Right.
I didn't want to come back to
Yeah.
Houston, and I had my friends from school, from like childhood, but
Mhm.
they're all married. I'm still single,
Right.
35, single now. And I'm like, I don't have like a family to like support me financially.
Right.
I am living at home, but it was something that I was like kind of ashamed of.
Right.
And it really was like, this is not how it's supposed to be in terms of what we were told growing up,
Right.
And so me trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do next has been like what I've been really focused on.
Yeah.
And my dance career was so amazing. I got to really live out my dream that I've
Right.
always wanted to do. And now I'm like trying to like figure out the next phase of my life, because granted, there's a lot of my friends that are still dancing and it's amazing. And I love that for them. I always knew I didn't want to do that forever.
Right.
I didn't want to be, and this is obviously no shade to anyone, I didn't want to be in my 30s auditioning with like 200 girls.
Right.
Like it's just a whole other beast, but I always knew I could do other things.
Yeah.
I went to school. I had other interests.
Right.
And I knew I could always do something else.
Yeah.
And some people don't, that's all they know. And that's all that they can do. And that's fine. But I knew I can do other things.
Well, and that's a good perspective to have, because it's like, you see athletes, you see different people who they put so much focus into one thing, and that's where they identify themselves with. And yeah, it's a part of who they are, a part of their makeup, interests. But it's so important to recognize that no, we're given a whole assortment of strengths. Like if we just take the time to kind of look into it, where we're not just bound to one thing and one thing only.
Yeah.
But and something I've always appreciated about you is that, you obviously achieved some amazing things in dance. You went through seasons of silence, but you were always very excited for your friends. And like, even when you said you moved back home and a lot of your friends were married, in different seasons of life, you were still always very excited for them, knowing that like whatever is meant for you, you'll get there. And we talked about this yesterday, just like marriage, kids, whatever. And you're like, I see my friends and all of my friends, which is such a pretty incredible thing to be able to say, that all of your friends are in healthy marriages.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that shows that you surround yourself with people that are wise in who they select. They're living maybe a purpose-driven life, a community-driven quality life, even individually. But you said, I just realized that that's not for me right now.
Yeah.
And so you're almost able to kind of step back and gain perspective. Like, although that might be something you want one day, like you have desires, God puts desires in our hearts.
Yeah.
But you're able to have the perspective to step back and be like, that's great for my friends, but like that is not for me right now.
Yeah.
I have something else. So being that you're now setting new goals and kind of passions and stuff, you're looking at a new location, maybe to kind of broaden your horizons and move to another big city. What are you doing like behind the scenes in this season of kind of like, I feel like you're in this season of like, it's kind of like gold as it's being refined. Like you're situated at home in Houston, a familiar town, which I know you like to be able to kind of go out and be in like new and unfamiliar and busy. But like you had to kind of step into more of a selfless role of being caregiver.
Yeah.
You're, spending more time with your family. you're kind of looking into other areas of life, like strengthening, like in tech, like maybe kind of learning new skills and stuff. Like, what are you doing behind the scenes while you're kind of going through this refining moment to encourage yourself to not be discouraged, and to like kind of pursue another goal, a new goal that you have for yourself? Because I feel like there are a lot of people who we go, I mean, Jesus went through a wilderness period,
Yeah.
before he started his ministry. What do you do?
I am the best thing I've done this year. The two things I've done best. The best things I've done this year. My God, I got it. Is therapy and my art class.
Yes.
And those are going hand in hand with each other.
That's crazy.
Therapy for me there's a lot of things I needed to unpack from my time in LA. As amazing as it is, there's just things that happened that I needed some resolutions from. And it has helped me like unpack things in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Because I was just sad all the time. Like, and so funny, I asked my therapist, it was like maybe the second or third time I was meeting with her, and I was like, so am I depressed? Like, I just need something to name what I'm feeling, because I don't know if this is what this is or if it is. And she's like, you have a mild case. And she's like, you'll be fine. You don't need to be on medication, but you do have a mild case.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy.
And that's almost a relief, to just be able to recognize like, oh, what I'm feeling, like what I'm thinking, not that it's like these dire thoughts, but it's like, there is a reason for that. That's not who you are. You're just in a season where there's a little bit of struggle, that you're just trying to process.
Yeah. And it's just definitely a struggle. And so that I'm doing that every week. And then I do my art class every week. And I just need to do something creative.
Yeah.
Because it's more so like going back to my child, like what I loved to do as a kid.
Yeah.
And I heard this on a podcast saying that if you want to figure out what you want to do in life or what you're meant to do in life, go back to what you did when you were a little kid.
Exactly.
And the person I was talking about was like, I love to scrapbook.
Oh.
And she said, I love to scrapbook. And then looking at her life now, she became a blogger and with like Instagram, and now she owns a like podcast company and all this stuff. So it's not necessarily that, but it turned, it's a broader.
Right.
And so art was the very first thing I did. And it's more freedom in that, like I'm more of a free-spirited type person. And so, especially with expression.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And my teacher's like, you're really focusing too much on the details. And that comes from my dance background. We had to mimic what we saw and things. And so it had to make me zoom out more, look more big picture, and not really like hone in, because I like to hone in on one thing and I like to be laser focused on one thing.
Right.
And so, but then if I'm laser focused on one little thing, then I'm missing out on the bigger picture that it could be. And it gave me freedom to like not be perfect.
Yeah.
Because I am a perfectionist and I want my life to look a certain way.
Right.
And feel a certain type of way. But even when I'm painting, I'm like, I hate this. I don't like what I'm doing. Like, I don't like, and then it's finished like, wow, I do like it.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to you even saying, like, if you look at the history of your career in dance in LA, like when you're in the moment, you're looking at each individual thing that you've done. It doesn't look exactly like what you're expecting. But if you step back and look at the big picture, you can say, well, I actually had a successful
it's exactly what I wanted
here.
Yeah.
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 You're looking at the little tiny pixels up close, but when you step back, you actually see, I had a dance career. I achieved a lot. It was successful. It's a complete picture. Let's move on to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So that's what I'm doing. I was going to different cities, seeing if I felt anything. I wasn't feeling it. Wasn't feeling like, I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I know I'm not supposed to be here.
Right.
And then I was scared of New York. because I didn't want that because of it was going to be another place that's hard.
Yeah.
And my friends or people I know are like, it's not going to be, it's going to be hard because it's New York. You know, it's a hard place to live. But it's not going to be like, because I was so focused on not wanting to struggle like I did in LA. Mentally, it was very tough on me.
Yeah.
But I would be not in that world anymore. You know, be doing, I'm a different person. I'm much older. I'm way more like mature.
Yeah.
And it would just be a different experience. And so when I was there in September last year, I remember crying in this apartment I was renting from a friend. And I was like, I have to move here, don't I?
Wow.
And every time I'm there, I would run into people that I know. Like I ran into so many people. It was just so many different things that kept happening that kept like, you could have a life here.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out, like what that could be. And I honestly am like, I have my hands up saying like, do what you want with it, because what I thought I maybe would have wanted, or like, I really don't know what I want.
Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, since leaving dance, like people always ask me like, well, what are you looking for? Like, what do you want to do? I had never not known what I wanted to do.
Wow.
This is the first time in my life ever that I do not know what I want. And I still cling to like what I wanted when I was dancing. I still want like the platform, the like notoriety of whatever that is. And sometimes you see stuff online that, you know, these influencers have all this stuff and you think like, well, I can attain that. I could do that. But like, you know, that maybe not be what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm still trying to figure that out. And I'm hoping that will be revealed obviously in time. But New York is the place that I want to be.
Yeah. And so you're going through a repurposing right now.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And I think that's what's neat about like having your story and like why I wanted to talk to you on here, because I feel like, you know, the bulk of which everyone's still on their journey, whether they're in their career or not, or whatever their goal or if they've already gone through the actual process of being repurposed. But like so we're all on a journey. But what I loved about yours is like, listen, I achieved this one thing. I'm kind of in this wilderness period of waiting and searching. So we're like witnessing it in live time.
Yeah.
Where you're like pursuing, like, what is my next step? And I think that, you know, what I've always noticed in my life is when things are hard or unsure, or like I remember when I started Hide and Hunter and I moved up to Birmingham, I was like, this is literally my means of financial provision. And when you're in a place of, you know, like that's hard like that, where you're fully dependent, like it puts you in a place where you're in full dependence on God.
Yeah.
And to me, even though it was really hard, and like, you know, some months I was like, how am I going to pay my rent? Like it forced me to go into prayer, which I think is a big part like of breakthrough, and saying, God, like at this point, I cannot cover basic necessities, my rent.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure it out for me. Figure it out, please. Like show up. And every single time
he shows up,
he did.
Yeah.
And so I think you excel in difficult situations. So I think that you're really good at that because you have the tenacity to push through.
Yeah.
But I think also it's like, whether it's New York, like, you know, it's, you know, choose your hard. Really, a lot of stages of life are hard. Like you being at home, like back to a familiar location, home for you is hard, you know? So, you know, it really hard is, you know, a relative term because it can be so many different ways, but like you're good at that. You succeed in that. But in those moments, it can challenge you if you allow it to like make you push in to become stronger in your relationship with God, to seek him more. And I've seen a big change in you, even with your relationship with God since you've been back home.
Yeah.
Which has been cool. And I feel like God has given you dreams.
Oh, that's like when it all started.
And that's when it picks up.
Yeah.
When you're like really seeking guidance and direction. And so I just think that's interesting, and that's neat to kind of see and be excited about, you know.
And he's helped me figure out, like, I mean, someone asked me what would you tell like your younger self or something?
Yeah.
And I would, or anyone else was where I was, I'd be like, focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
And that's been a very big thing for me to realize, like, I can only control myself.
Yeah.
And show up the way I show up, do all the things that I'm supposed to do to get to where I want to go, and everything else, like, I can't worry about everyone else.
Right.
And what they may think, or if they reject me, or
even comparing to what they're doing, which is a
Right.
huge thing now with social media, because
Yeah.
we'll only see the highlights, so we compare ourselves.
Right. And so I was like, focus on what you can control. If you are doing the work that you're supposed to do to get to where you want to go, it will eventually happen.
Yeah.
And that was basically my time in LA. I was going to class. It wasn't like I wasn't, training and doing all the things I was supposed to do. And I eventually got there in a very unconventional way, but it was still an incredible story. But even in that time of doubt, it was like, he came through in like the most unexpected way.
Yeah.
And even the thing I wrote down, the VMAs was something I wrote down, and I forgot about it because it was like time had passed, and like I was like, I thought it was already, my time had already passed.
Yeah.
And having God being the final say, like I was the second to last person that got hired before they left. That's how quickly things can move.
Yeah.
And
Overnight.
and things you may think like something's done and it's not done.
Right.
Or something's over and it's not over.
And that's probably the importance of writing down goals.
Yeah. I do it every month.
It, like, down the road, you're able to see. It's kind of like the movie War Room, where she would write down her prayers. And over the course of time, she was able to put dates on when these prayers were answered.
Yeah.
And like for you, it showed you, thank God you wrote down these dreams and vision boards and stuff, because you're able to go back and say this, you were able to see big picture, the success of your time there, and the prayers that were answered.
Yeah. So it's been really cool. And me being home, my dreams have really started to really take shape.
Yeah.
Like the things I'm dreaming about is I will wake up and like in the middle of the night, I'm like writing it in my notes app on my phone. I have a long list.
Yeah.
Dating back to 2020. And certain things have happened.
Yeah.
Or things I've seen in other people. I have not predicted. I don't want to say predicted, but God has shown me friends of mine that have gotten pregnant and they hadn't said anything yet. Or just certain little things. Like God really speaks to me in my dreams and visions, and just a knowing. Like I like kind of, I don't want to say predict, because no one can really predict anything, but like I feel like I have a really good intuition.
Yeah, God gives you insight.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if I could describe you just as like a person to who I view you as, is as a friend. You are a true friend.
Oh, thank
and
you.
to the point of where I could cry about it. God even gives you vision for your friends' lives. So
yeah.
That's how it's pregnancy or like postpartum.
Yeah.
But I just think that's such a sweet thing that God's even been able to give you. And you've called me before and said, hey, I had this dream about you.
Yeah.
And like, you've told me about that. And you've told me about other dreams that you've had about your friends. And that's so you, even though you were in an industry that was very self-focused.
Yeah.
You're not that type of person.
No.
And that's what's so neat, is that God speaks to you. And your heart is where it's not always just focused on you. It's on your friends too.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
But I just appreciate you. And so would that be I always ask at the end of an interview, like, what would be your one piece of advice to give to the listeners based on your life? Would it be, what would your piece of advice be?
I would say, don't ever, if you have something you want to do in life and it seems impossible, I know this is cheesy, but I would say just do it.
Yeah.
I came from Texas and I went to Los Angeles, and I was on stage with some of the biggest artists ever, and a little girl who was in her room.
Yeah.
With posters on the wall. And it's like, how could that happen to me?
Right.
And I remember, it's a funny story. I auditioned for the Backstreet Boys. They were doing a Vegas like residency, and I didn't get the job. But at the studio, they were rehearsing for it at the studio.
Uh-huh.
I would see them every day. And I don't know what this made me cry, but that was a band that I loved so much. And God was like, you didn't need that. But you got to be around people that you loved.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
Like a little glimpse of childhood in your adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, it felt like rejection. And it wasn't like, it didn't feel like at the time I was like, gosh, like, why do I feel like I'm not good enough for this or whatever? But these are like I thought I was going to move to LA and marry Nick Carter or something, like I literally thought that's what was going to be my life. But like, I was like, you may not be in rehearsal with them, but you get to see these people every day and they say hello to you and they call you by your name.
Right.
And it's just, it may not happen. Just going back to what you asked, it may not happen the way you are asking.
Yeah.
And it may not even be the full thing that you're asking for, but just to have God answer your prayer in any type of way is a way.
Right.
I prayed for friends. I prayed for a church. I prayed to get signed with an agency.
Yeah.
I prayed to be able to pay my rent. All these little things that seem very little.
Yeah.
But made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And all the fun glam stuff that like you may look at and think is so cool, which it was very minute to the other things that I really needed for me to sustain myself there. Because if I didn't have friends, if I didn't have a church, like it would be very difficult to stay. So I would say just go for whatever you want. Leave all expectations out the window because you don't want to put God in a box.
Yeah.
You can't be so hell-bent on just this one thing that you see. The picture may be completely different and it can be like the best thing for you.
Right.
And the things I thought I wanted, I no longer want anymore.
Isn't that cool too, though?
Yeah, it is. And so focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
Show up how you show up all the time. And if you're putting in the work, something's going to happen. If not, God will change.
Yeah.
And be open to all possibilities because there's not just one way to get to somewhere.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different avenues. And I just wish more people were able to zoom out more.
Yeah.
Because we can be our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And God has really told me to release the reins because I've been so tight-fisted.
Yeah.
For so long and needing my life to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And just like, my life doesn't look like what I wanted it to look like.
Yeah.
I would have never wanted to be single at 35.
Right.
And living at home. So I have to release that and be like, that's just where I am right now. It's not good. It's not forever.
Right.
And where you are right now, if you don't like where you are right now, it's not for forever. If you truly want to better yourself and move to a different way, you'll be able to get out of there. But life is a journey and it'll take you in a million different routes.
Yeah.
And I would just be open to know that whatever you do is what's meant for you. And don't let people tell you like, don't move there. It's too expensive.
Right.
Don't do that job. It's not paying enough. If that's what you feel like you're supposed to do it.
Right.
Because
and just work hard.
Work hard.
And God will, if his desire is for you to be there, he'll make the details work out.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we have dreams and they look so impossible, but all you have to do is just get started like you did, surround yourself in work studies and community that lends towards whatever that dream is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll realize after some time, you'll look back and see how far you've come and how much closer you are to that seemingly impossible dream.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know how life is going to turn out. Like I know this is so funny, but we just talked about this at lunch. But like, I look at like Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
She was an actress. She would have never imagined herself marrying a prince
Right.
and being the most talked about person on planet Earth.
Yeah.
You just never know
How it's going to turn out.
at all. So you just, I would say, as hard as it is sometimes, I would just give up your hands and just say, whatever you got,
Right.
I'll take it.
Let's do this.
Let's take it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So
that is an awesome story.
Thank you.
And ending to the story or ending to the video.
Yeah.
But your story is still going on.
It is going.
Well, thank you for being on here.
Thank you so
for
much
taking the
doing-
time.
I know this is a lot. It was very long-winded.
No, but it was good.
Okay.
And I have a hard time because I always say I want to keep it under, and Ryan probably hates me. I want to keep it under an hour. That was always the goal, but none of them have been.
Yeah.
But I think it's because sometimes there's so many little details that need to be said.
Yeah.
And I don't want to miss out on those. And I've had people reach out to me and say, oh my gosh, this part of this message really ministered to me. And if
Yeah.
I were to analyze a video and like if I was like, okay, cut and remove this, or like, let's not talk about this because we need to get to that, I would have taken those moments out. But
Yeah.
those moments are the moments that speak the most to
Yeah.
people. So
Listen, if Joe Rogan can be on a podcast talking about God knows what for 3 hours,
we can do
we
it
can
for
do it for
an hour and a half. All
half.
right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here this weekend.
Thank you. I've
And-
been having so much fun.
Yes. Well, I love you.
Love you.
All right. And we will see you next time. Stay tuned because we have a whole, 3 weeks lined up of
Wow.
guests. So we will be back.